continuing our conversation with entrepreneur, businesswoman, chairperson of Brand South Africa, Chichi Maponya. Let's talk about entrepreneurship. You grew up in an entrepreneurial family, and a lot of entrepreneurs I talk to say, you know, they had a family member who was an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
So they grew up with kind of those kinds of conversations. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Many of our mothers and aunts and grannies were selling one thing or another, whether it was snafe or nuts in the trains, or sweets at the corner, or magwenya, fat cakes, you know. Many of the families had entrepreneurial members within the family. But I think because it was coming out of survival mode, they didn't really see it as a business. And also it was never really supported to a point where it could be built up into being serious businesses, mid-size or small businesses. But it never really got the nurturing and the support.
Was it always expected that you'd be an entrepreneur? What did you get a sense?
I think I've always known that. For me, that's all I knew.
Yeah.
You know, I was born behind the counter. I grew up in the shop.
Yeah.
And that's all I knew. I had never really thought I would do anything else. But of course, somewhere along my journey, I had to do something else. And that came out of wanting to remove myself from the comfort and the shielded environment of the family business.
Yeah.
I didn't want people to think that I couldn't do it by myself. Yes, you've always had it on a silver platter. And also for myself, I needed to reassure myself that you can do this.
Yeah, and what was that like?
It was exciting. I mean, it was exciting. I worked for a company called Kwezi Group. We were invested in diverse sectors, in infrastructure, financial services, in asset management, in telecoms. And I was the business development director there and a shareholder as well. And we worked and we were very successful, you know. So, and then that gave me confidence that you can do it.
That it's okay.
Absolutely,
I can do this myself.
Absolutely.
And education, very, very important. Let's talk a little bit about that, because that's a big theme in South Africa right now. People lamenting the state of our education, the focus that young people have or don't have when it comes to that. So you could have easily, as you say, silver platter, there it is, just carried on with the family business, not even bothered to go to get an education.
Absolutely.
But you did that.
I did that. It was necessary. And again, you know, I didn't want, having looked at many black family businesses and what happens with succession planning.
Yes.
I thought to myself, I'm fired up, I'm spirited, I've got this passion, I think I'm an entrepreneur, and I know I can do it. But then there's the fear of saying, how do I compete with other established entrepreneurial families like the Oppenheimers, like the Ruperts? What is it that they're doing differently? And you realize that they are second generation who takes over. They have a different skill set. Their fathers established the business, and to take it to a next level, I would probably need a little bit more, you know, added value. And the environment has changed. So for me, I think that was education was important on that level. That you cannot be complacent and think what worked then. When we are operating in a global society now, you know, it's such a small world. So you need to be on point and make sure that you are well equipped, well armed to tackle all those challenges.
What did you study?
BCom. I did BCom marketing with a sub-major in finance and accounting.
Okay, and obviously using that to create
absolutely.
Right now,
absolutely.
When you came back into the family business, how did that happen?
I was at a point where at Kwezi we were selling off some of our assets, and being an empowerment business, I think we had reached a point where we are either going to grow or diversify. And I think as shareholders we decided we are going to pursue other interests. At that point I thought, do I establish something else by myself? Do I go and look for employment elsewhere? Or do I go back home to my roots? You know, I've always known I'm going to do that at some point. And I was trying to assess, is this the right time? And my dad was going through a phase where he had always wanted to build this mall in Soweto. And he had been talking about it, and he was reminiscing, and I had wanted to do this, and I tried again in 94. I think there was the market crash in 98, and that almost like killed it. And I thought to myself, maybe this is the time. Maybe this is that opportunity that's going to springboard and make sure, and ease my coming back into the family business. So in 2002, we started working on the plans. Late 2002, 2003, we started working on the plans, engaging architects, and voila. That it was.
And what was that like, working with your father? I know the whole relationship, daughters and their fathers.
Yes.
What was that like?
I look like my father.
Yes.
I am like him in mannerism and everything else. He's hard. And I tend to be. I'm picking up more of his traits now in my older
later
age.
years,
yes.
And it's the same thing with me. And I think, all those things I thought I would never be.
Exactly. But it's an interesting relationship. The challenge comes when we disagree on something in the office, and we fight, and of course I dig my feet in, and of course I have to still respect him, the culture and all of that. And then after hours, I want to have a chat with my dad, and he's still sulking. And no, it's not office hours now. Please, I need my dad. Do you mind? Yeah, but it's exciting. I think I'm lucky really to have his wisdom still guiding me today. That's that you don't buy that, and you don't learn that at any business school.
Yeah.
So to still have that right accessible like this, it's really I'm really lucky.
And working with your children as well.
Yes.
So what would you say you've learned from working with your dad that you are now able to, I suppose, transfer to working with your children in your business, the Nalesa stable?
I find that I make the same mistakes that my dad, that I thought my dad was doing. I trust me, I do exactly the same. And the kids remind me all the time, no, Ma, you said this were my responsibility. Please give me a chance. Let me complete, and then you can come and assess. Don't stand over my shoulders and say, no, you're not doing it right. No, when the time comes, let's sit down and go through the issues, and you tell me where I've met my targets, where I haven't, and why, and then we deal with it at that time. And then please don't sulk right through the night. The same issue of I want my dad. They say I want my mom.
We become our parents, don't we?
Absolutely.
Continuing our conversation with Chichi Maponya in a moment.